Good morning, participants, and today I'm very happy to introduce Voruganti Aravind, and he is the Vice President of Blockchain Practice and Products IDS. There are a lot of credentials that he has with his experience of more than 8+ years. He led 3 blockchain products and projects teams to define, design, and enable developer and domain expert team to translate the functional requirements into technical requirements. He was also formerly the vice president and product head for Zorium Blockchain Labs Private Limited and Asli Stamp. He also invented proof of lattice time, a quantum proof dual dynamic consensus for proprietary blockchain protocol. And he was also the recipient of the award for the best product of the year in emerging technologies in July 2019. He received it for his Asli Stamp out of 20+ nominations across the country. So equipped with the best education in supply chain management, supply chain finance, and blockchain specialization from New York Institute of Finance. His expertise in blockchain technology, he is willing to share with us, which definitely I feel that it is informative and enlightening for all of us. So thank you, Mr. Voruganti Aravind, for accepting to give a talk. And from here, I request you to please take on and then continue with your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Swami, for your kind introduction. Okay. So just let me share the screen. Okay. So first of all, it's my pleasure to give a talk for as a part of Dr. Swami Talks. It's my privilege. And today's agenda is to talk about blockchain, which is one of the emerging technology of Industry 4.0. And to set the context, I would like to talk blockchain more in a functional level rather than technical thing, and how it impacts world positively, and what are the benefits a common man can see or can feel when blockchain adoption happens at a larger scale. And that is what I thought I will share when Dr. Swami invited for me the talk, because today even situations are pretty tough because of COVID, and businesses are becoming very complex as well as uncertain. So in this time, blockchain is one technology tool which can be leveraged in many fields, and it can bring positive change, and it can bring more certainty to the world of business. Okay, so let me of course I'll discuss some exciting innovations in space of blockchain as well. And of course, Dr. Swami is kind enough to introduce me. Other than the credentials, I'm alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and I have educated around 1200+ working professionals, educators, and engineering students as well, as a part of my 2 years stint in blockchain space. And of course, blockchain came into existence in 2009, but people started building applications on blockchain in 2015 and 16. So 2 years or 3 years of experience in blockchain itself is like you will be in top thousands of people who are actually has that experience. So let's look at the agenda. So if you look at the agenda, so first we'll see blockchain primer, because I'm sure some of you might be aware of blockchain and some of you might be new to blockchain. So to bring all of you on common page, on common ground, I'll give a brief introduction to blockchain. And of course, I'll make sure that I'll not go deeper into technology, but I'll give you enough understanding of what blockchain is at a higher level. And then we'll discuss how blockchain can be leveraged in public health, because now it has become one of the hot topic because of COVID pandemic situation. And then we'll see how blockchain can be leveraged in remote work and e-learning. I think this is second situation which is actually touched everyone almost across the globe, because everyone is working from home and everyone started learning from home. So we'll see how blockchain can be leveraged in that. And then we'll see manufacturing sector and supply chain and logistics. Because of COVID situation again, manufacturing and supply chains, logistics have hit a lot. There is a supply shock. I mean, this is the term used by economists across the globe. There is a supply shock because most of the supply chains got disrupted, and almost all governments are pushing manufacturers to work with 50% or 30% of workforce. So even blockchain can kind of deal with such situations. And why I have chosen these 4 use cases, because now the world is facing challenges with respect to these 4 fields, and I thought if I speak in this context, probably that will be more relevant and meaningful. Okay, and then we'll discuss how blockchain can impact common man on a broader level in long run, and then we'll get into Q&A. And of course, so I have around 40 minutes or so for the session, and then we'll take 10 minutes or so for the Q&A. Okay, so now I think I'll minimize this. Okay. So what is blockchain? Just give me a moment. Okay. So what is blockchain? So how people define blockchain as is internet of value. Okay. Now, today's internet is called as internet of information, because today's internet allows us to share information freely. But if you look at blockchain, blockchain is called as internet of value. And of course, this internet of value is again a typical network, like how we have internet today. Similarly, blockchain is also a network, but the only point is structurally it is pretty much different compared to the internet which we are using today. Okay, and broadly speaking, people call or people define blockchain as a distributed ledger, which is governed by a peer-to-peer network. And of course, these are the only 2 technical terms I will use. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll not go deeper, but I'll try to explain you what is this distributed ledger and what is this peer-to-peer network. And because of these 2 technical capabilities, blockchain is having a unique value proposition, which is not possible with today's internet. And what is that? Of course, I'll keep it in suspense at least for a couple of slides now. And in simple terms, blockchain is nothing but a shared database which is common for all the systems. Okay, and all the stakeholders involved to access that system will be seeing the same single version of data. Okay, so today's databases, so to give you a simple example, today's databases are pretty much centralized. Say for example, all the data of Facebook is lying in their central servers owned by Facebook. Similarly, Google or all the services which we are using like Gmail, Google Drive, so all these files are stored on a single central server. And when you open those applications from browser, you will be quickly accessing them from the central server using internet, right? But if you look at blockchain, blockchain is more like a shared database, and data doesn't sit in one single location but will be sitting across multiple servers or nodes. And who owns these nodes? Not Google, not Facebook, or not by a single entity, but this peer-to-peer network is owned by general public. So the point is, from centralized systems we are moving to decentralized systems. Okay, so more on that, more on depth in coming slides, but I'll stop here. Blockchain is a distributed database which is accessible and visible to all stakeholders involved to have a trusted and transparent data sharing. Okay, now I'll go, so at least these are the 2 to 3 slides where I'll discuss technology at a broader level, because I said, I promised you I will explain what is this distributed ledger and what is a peer-to-peer network. And before going to the technical aspect, see, technology evolves, of course, right, with time, but every evolution of technology is definitive thing which will happen based on the evolution of needs of the people, right? Because people or businesses or governments needs and wants change with time, and that is how technology evolves over a period of time. So business and technology go hand by hand, and that is how things move. So say for example, and of course in nature everything follows a pattern, everything has a common underlying pattern with which things evolve. So before getting into the technology side, let me give you a metaphor or an example with which you can correlate. When human civilization started, there were kingdoms, and kingdoms is something which is pretty much centralized in nature, where there is a king or an emperor, there is a king who defines what should happen in his kingdom. And then slowly the dynamics got changed, where there is a race of emperor who is taking lead of multiple kingdoms, and each kingdom has a king. Okay, so the power got distributed over a period of time, right? So if you try to correlate the distribution of power from emperor to multiple kings, and then the kingdoms happened. And then over a period of time, the political system has developed or went to a next evolutionary step, which is democracy, where the power to own or to elect a leader got distributed so much that it has become a decentralized political system. So I hope you could correlate how the things evolved from kings to emperors and then to democracy, where it became so decentralized that all the people have a right to come to consensus about whom their leader is. So now let's take businesses. I gave you one example of political system because that is how governments evolved over a period of time. Now let's talk about businesses. If you look at businesses, initially when businesses started, like large scale businesses started, there used to be monopoly organizations who used to define the terms, prices, and the economy of that particular sector. So that is more centralized. And as businesses have grown over a size, what happened is the distribution of business functions happened, where a large organization beyond a point couldn't manage all the business functions, and they started delegating them. And when they started delegated them, the term of outsourcing happened. Say for example, there is a manufacturer, and that manufacturer can't do all manufacturing on his own. On the organization's capabilities are pretty much limited, so they started delegating it, they started outsourcing it. Marketing has become so huge because organizations have spread across the globe. So a single administrative body managing all the marketing of different elements, different regions is not possible. So distribution of that happened, delegation of that happened, right? So now let's look about decentralized marketplaces. Now let's take example of Amazon. Today Amazon is a decentralized marketplace where there are a lot of buyers who can put what they want to sell, and there are a lot of sellers who puts what all things they can sell, and there are a lot of buyers who can decide what they want to buy. And today you can do business with anyone across the globe, you can sell anything across the globe. So businesses have become moved from monopoly to distributed to decentralized again. But again, if you look at the decentralized systems, imagine Amazon or Flipkart or Ola, Uber, Zomato. What has happened? Decentralization happened only with respect to business, but with respect to control, with respect to IT system, again it is centralized, right? Amazon defines the price. Amazon always gives a rating or a recommendation or things. Okay, and we don't know if we need to believe in those ratings or not. So the point you need to understand is, with changing businesses, the IT systems also should evolve. So now what happened? Now let's look at this technology aspect of blockchain. So like how political systems decentralized over a period of time, and how businesses decentralizing over a period of time, technology also is decentralizing over a period of time. And today most of the organizations, take almost all big companies, all big IT companies, they have either centralized IT systems which are maintained on premise, nothing but centralized. Then they have distributed systems, which is nothing but cloud. I'm sure most of you heard about cloud computing. What is cloud computing? There are different servers which are spread across the globe, but all of them are controlled by one single server. So does this do all the things? No, it delegates, it distributes, but this is the coordinating point. Now this is cloud infrastructure with respect to IT systems. And then came decentralized IT systems, which is nothing but blockchain. And like centralized or decentralized systems, businesses own them. A single entity or multiple entities own all the server infrastructure. But if you look at decentralized IT systems, all these nodes are maintained or owned by public. See, the decentralization is happening, right? So how a citizen got power of vote, similarly a citizen is getting an ability to maintain an infrastructure for a blockchain network. Now you will get a question: how the governance structure of this peer-to-peer network is maintained? because this is peer is maintained by someone else, this peer is maintained by someone else. So all the peers in the network are maintained by different people. So there should be some coordination, right? So like how we have election commission which is defining who should win, who shouldn't win, and how the voting process should happen. Similarly, for this blockchain network, there will be a governance structure, and this governance structure is called as protocol. So this blockchain network will have a protocol, and all the nodes should follow that protocol which is defined. And the beauty is here there is a controlling authority, but here everyone has equal priorities. It is protocol which defines things. Now let's look about ledger. I told blockchain is a distributed ledger. So try to understand the functional level, at least at this point of time, and then we'll discuss how blockchain is being used. Okay, now let's look at ledger. What is best example of a ledger? Your account statement, right? Your bank account statement. What are the properties of a ledger? You can do a transaction or you can read a transaction, but you can't update or delete transactions. That is the basic functionality of a ledger, right? Say for example, you did a transaction of 10,000 to your friend, but you are supposed to do 5,000 only. Now, in that case, can you call up the bank and say, hey, by mistake, I did 10,000. Can you just modify the transaction and make it 5,000? No, that is not how the ledger books work, the account books work. Okay, that is not how the ledgers work. So how does ledger work? You can create a transaction, or you can create a entry record, or you can read a entry record or transaction, but you can't delete or update a transaction. Now, if a ledger is sitting in one central server, it is called as centralized ledger. But if a ledger is sitting on a decentralized network, it is called as distributed ledger. Now, what is the benefit of this? The point is, if you want to, so now imagine there is a SBI central server where all SBI account holders data is being stored on a centralized ledger. Okay, now there is a admin who is controlling this centralized server. Even though for users, they can't update or delete a transaction data, but an admin can do it through backdoor. Second, if there is a hacker who wants to attack it, then he can attack it, because there is one central server which they should attack it. But the benefit of distributed ledger is the same copy of ledger is not maintained at one central server, but it is maintained across thousands or 1 lakh plus nodes in the network. So what is the benefit here? The same copy of ledger is maintained across all the nodes in the network, and all the nodes are in sync. When I say sync, that means the protocol will make sure that all the nodes are maintaining the same copy of ledger. Now I'll come to the crux. What is the benefit of blockchain? Once a data is validated and verified by all the users and committed to the blockchain, to the ledger, no one can change the data. No one can modify the data. So to conclude these two slides, all you need to understand is, once a data is entered on present IT system, you can change it. May not be as a user, but as a admin or as a hacker, you can change or modify it. But if a data enters onto distributed ledger, you need to attack thousands of nodes to modify it, which is tough. And even if one node tries to change the data, all other nodes will reject the change because the protocol is designed like that. The governance structure of the protocol is designed like that. So to give you a brief, what can blockchain do? Blockchain enables transactions in a trustless world. Why increase trust? Because the data is not stored. Data is not stored on one central server, but it is stored across multiple servers. What is the best example of this? I'll give you a real-time example. Let's take the situation of Amravati farmers giving their land to Amravati capital. At first, the citizens, they didn't believe in government. They didn't believe in the RTA officers. Okay, they didn't believe in the government IT systems at all because they are worried even if the land records are issued, there may be a discrepancy. Now, what happened in that case? So at that time, at that particular time, the chief minister of that time, he leveraged blockchain to issue land records on blockchain. Why? Because if you are putting a land record on a blockchain, you are not putting it at a central server, but you are putting it across hundreds or tens or thousands of nodes based on the type of blockchain you are using. So a single user can't modify the data. Even though RTA officer is a admin, he can, RTO, like the revenue officer, is it revenue officer? Sorry, the land registry officers. Okay, registry officers. So the land registry officers can't manipulate the data or modify the data without consent of user. So what can blockchain bring? Blockchain enables transactions in a trustless world. There are many scenarios where there is something of value which can be digitalized and can be stored on blockchain without problem of getting changed or modified. So what can blockchain bring? It can bring increased trust, reduction or elimination of disputes. It can save time, cost removal, enhanced data quality, and reduced risk because tampering is not possible. Data quality is assured because once data is there on blockchain, no one can change it. Only a user should initiate a new transaction to bring a change, but that data as it is can't be modified or manipulated. And another best example, university certificates. Today, fake certificates is a big challenge. And if university issues academic certificates on blockchain, that's a great thing to happen, right? And cost removal. Today, wherever there is a challenge of duplication, paper-based certificates or paper-based records are being used. But now you can remove the process of involving paper because whatever data is on blockchain is immutable. That means not modifiable, and you can remove the costs involved in that. And time saving, right? To get a land record verified or to get an academic certificate verified or whatever records to be verified, you need to do a lot of auditing, verification, validation and all, getting a stamp and all. But with blockchain, you can cut those times involved in verification and validation of a document or a data or a record, whatever it is. Now, I explained you in a very broader way, but let me go a little deeper into the concepts. Okay, so the building blocks of blockchain. So all you need to understand is blockchain is internet of value. Internet of value means you are transacting something which is of value. So when you are transacting something of value, it is called as transaction. And of course, every transaction has its own contract terms, agreement terms. Okay, so blockchain primarily deals with transactions, not transfers. In today's internet, you are dealing with transfer of information, but in blockchain, you deal with transactions and contracts. Second, how the data is stored of transactions as ledgers and records. And you know, a decade back, there is a reputed company which manipulated its accounts and it went bankrupt. I don't want to name it, but you know why? Because those ledgers or records of that particular company is stored on a central server, and the admins as well as the auditing team, they colluded and they manipulated the data. But with blockchain, that is not possible, because blockchain deals with ledgers and records. Next, decentralized peer-to-peer network. So as we understood, there is a loophole in centralized IT systems. We are moving to decentralized IT systems, which is peer-to-peer network. And then because a ledger is stored on multiple networks, it is called as distributed ledger. Okay. And then I told you blockchain. What is this block and what is this chain? I will explain in 5th step. So all blocks are chained together. But what is a block? A block is a pool of transactions which happen in a time slot. And then 6th step, we'll understand how consensus happens. Like how for elections, what is the consensus? At least 51% who gets majority of the votes is the winner. But how the consensus works in blockchain, we'll understand in 6th step. Then we'll understand immutable data, smart contracts, and trust and transparency. Okay, so as I discussed all these terms in elaborate, I will quickly skim through the steps. All financial systems are driven by transactions, and any data which shouldn't be modified, which shouldn't be manipulated, should be put on blockchain. But if you are doing a Facebook post and you changed the post because of some spell mistake, do you want to put that on blockchain? No, not required, right? So you should decide when should blockchain be used. Only when there are financial transactions or anything of transaction where those details or those data shouldn't be manipulated. What is a ledger again? Anyways, across the globe, almost all transaction based IT systems follow a ledger. But rather than storing that ledger on a centralized IT system, you will be moving from centralized IT system to decentralized IT system in blockchain, where each and every party on the blockchain will validate and verify the transaction, and only after all nodes in the network validate a transaction, that becomes valid. And don't assume there will be a human sitting on the node and verifying everything. No, not possible, right? If a public blockchain, if a network is maintained by a lot of people, do you think each person should validate a transaction? No, everything is a script, everything is automated, it is driven by code. And what is this block I'm talking about? In a centralized IT system, all the transactions are done by one central server. So all the transactions are put in a chronological order. But in distributed systems, for a given time slot, one node will add the block. One node will create a block of all transactions which are agreed by all the nodes, and it will add into the network. So what is a block? A pool of transactions which happen in a time slot. Then what is a chain? Each block is for a time slot. So the next time slot, a new block comes, right? New set of transactions happen on the network. So each block is linked to the next block by using a cryptography technique that is called as hash. So cryptographically chained together all these blocks. So what is the benefit of blocking them, chaining them together? Because if someone tries to change the data, the hash value will change and the chain will get broken. So once a chain gets broken, that particular transaction change will be rejected by the network. And what is the consensus? Consensus is nothing but all the nodes in the network, unless until they validate and verify, a transaction will not become part of the block. And what is the important value proposition of blockchain? It is blockchain data is immutable. That means no one can change the data once it is validated and verified, and it is committed to the ledger. And what is a smart contract? Sometimes in businesses happens a situation where a transaction can happen only when some conditions are met. So in that case, smart contracts are used where you will write all the business logic or all the conditions, and only after all the conditions met, a transaction will be validated by all the nodes in the network. So as I highlighted already, blockchain enables transactions in a trustless world. Now let's look at the practical use cases. So I think I have taken a little more time to give the detailed understanding, but let's quickly move to the coming slides on the use cases. Now, how can blockchain be used in public health? Blockchain can enable a new model for privacy preserving health information exchanges, because in blockchain, every data is encrypted and hashed before storing on the nodes. So no one can see the data even though it is stored on multiple locations. So the data privacy is preserved. But in a centralized IT system, the privacy of the data is not preserved because the data is sitting with one central server. You know, right? There are many cases where Facebook data got leaked, Aadhaar card data leaked, everywhere data leakage. Why? It is stored on central server. Now blockchain can act as a trust enabler. Okay, how? Because today all the electronic medical records are being put on central servers maintained by healthcare providers like hospitals and all, right? Now, and even the Arogya Setu app, which is launched in view of contact tracing during COVID, what is the biggest challenge? People didn't trust because government might catch them, government might reveal their information to all the contacts, right? All these privacy issues were there, and leakage of information is there, and there is no transparency of the health data also today, right? There are many cases where citizens are saying government is not revealing the real numbers which is happening. Okay, real number of cases. But if all these hospital central servers, okay, are connected to a blockchain network, a real-time data updates can happen, and without revealing the identity of the citizen, all the contacts can be alerted. So that is possible with blockchain. And how is that possible? Because in blockchain, every user will be given a public and private key, and there is no KYC concept here. You need not reveal the identity of yourself for enrolling to a blockchain network or for using a blockchain application. So this is one of the key benefit of using blockchain in public health. And already World Health Organization, WHO, started looking at using blockchain, because tomorrow, like how you got a passport, okay, tomorrow you will be getting a health passport, and your health passport will be having all your medical records, and maintaining these medical records is not possible to be maintained by a particular country, because another country doesn't trust this country's database. So WHO will take the lead and will create a blockchain network which will be maintained by all the countries in the world, and all the key medical records required to cross a country can be maintained on blockchain in a trustworthy way. Okay, so there are lots of possibilities for using blockchain in public health. Okay, now let's look at remote work and learning. Today, a lot of companies are giving virtual internships, virtual experience certificates, and many people are learning from homes. Now, how do you make sure that a right credential is given to people who are doing remote work and e-learning? How can you? Right? If you visit a university, then only based on your attendance, based on your certificates, your identity card, everything, there is some records for a student based on which a certificate can be issued, and they can validate and verify if that student actually went to that university and learned. But now everything is becoming digital, everything is becoming online. So how to put all these credentials, all these certificates in a database which are not tampered? How should I trust? So that is when again blockchain comes into picture. Future of work and learning is here. Because all these certificates are issued by central servers, again, the verifying authority may not trust the academic credentials or the work credentials. They need to go and approach those and verify them. It's a time cumbersome process. It is a cost process. Now with blockchain, a self-sovereign identity. Again, every user can be given a digital identity which can be put on blockchain, and all the academic credentials and all the work credentials can be put on through the blockchain. And the benefit of blockchain, another benefit of blockchain is whatever record you put on blockchain will get a timestamp, and this timestamp can't be modified. Now imagine I said I worked for 3 months as an intern for a particular company. At the time of issuance of the offer letter, because it is issued on blockchain, there is a timestamp associated with that record. And after 3 months, at the time of completion, the completion experience certificate will be issued again on blockchain with a timestamp after 3 months. Now, can someone create backdated documents? Not possible with blockchain. So a self-sovereign identity can be given so that all credentials can be stacked together. So each organization are connected to this blockchain network and everyone can issue them. So that is what happens. So this is what happens. There will be a decentralized network where all the credentials coming from different IT systems will be stacked together and will be linked to a digital identity. And because the property of the blockchain itself is immutability, no one can put backdated credentials and no one can issue something of backdate. Now let's look at manufacturing. Now today, every government is pushing the manufacturing companies to work with 30% of workforce, 50% of workforce. If that happens, whole economy is going disrupted. Why? Because every product which we use is what brings the business. And if this business gets hurt or get a shock of supply, what happens? If the manufacturing capacity goes down, the supply of products and services goes down. If product supply goes down, supply goes down and demand remains the same. And because of this, inflation of prices happen. And because of that, people will buy less. And because of that, liquidity of the amount, liquidity of the cash in the economy goes down. And this goes in circular level where whole economy gets crashed. So blockchain can enable autonomous operations with minimal workforce. How? For example, smart contract powered operations. I'll quickly move to, I told you already what is a smart contract. It is the business logic codified. So you can define all the business logic in the code and automatically all these things will get executed, and those transactions can be put on blockchain for auditing later. For example, now imagine there is a manufacturer, and of course every manufacturer should procure a lot of raw materials from different suppliers, and there will be many authorized suppliers from which they can procure the the products, the raw materials. Right now, what does a human do there? There will be an inventory manager who will quickly look at what are the best prices available, and based on the best prices available, he will choose a supplier and he will place a purchase order, and then he will get the raw materials shipped. Now that operation of IM manager, inventory manager, can be automated with smart contract. And what does a smart contract do? You will write a business logic that what is the best possible price for a given raw material, choose that particular seller and raise a purchase order from the IT system of buyer. And the same seller will be also on blockchain, and the purchase order will be pushed to the buyer, and buyer will issue a invoice. The invoice payment will be driven by bank by another smart contract. So all these transactions are happening on all the nodes in the network maintained by buyer, supplier, and bank. But now what is happening? Even though you can automate some of the operations, you can't automate transactions of records of other buyer, other seller and bank, right? Because they are using different IT systems. So because of that, you can automate operations within your organization, but you can't automate across organizations. You can't do it cross organizational operations. You can't automate them. But with blockchain, if all these buyers and sellers, okay, because they do business on a continual basis, they can create a private blockchain network among themselves, and all the cross organizational operations can be automated. And because the same data is available across the stakeholders, everyone can trust it, everyone can audit it, and everyone can process their operations on this. But today what happens? Buyer will raise a purchase order, supplier will raise a invoice on other IT system, they will send it here. And what if some modification happens with buyer? There will be disputes, there will be discrepancies. Why? Data is storing on different IT systems in silos. But with blockchain, there is one copy of truth, one copy of data visible to all the stakeholders based on which they can act upon. Supply chain and logistics. Today, almost all supply chains got disrupted. Just 2 to 3 minutes. So hold with me. I'm taking up the Q&A time, but hold with me. Today, supply chains and logistic organizations are getting disrupted because of COVID situation. Why? In a typical supply chain, there will be suppliers, manufacturers, processing units, distributors, wholesalers, retailers. All these IT systems are separate, and whatever transactions happening between them are bilateral. And because they are bilateral, when I say bilateral, every process is every data is maintained on two IT systems separately. Okay, and there is a human intervention required for cross-organizational interactions. But with blockchain, you can do track and trace through limited coordination. And you can see, you can check what is happening across the supply chain. Say, for example, what can supply chain bring? What can blockchain bring to supply chain? Supply chain involves multiple stakeholders, and there is a lot of paperwork and coordination time for movement of goods, right? Because what is happening on other organization side is not visible to this organization IT system, and what is happening in this organization is not visible to the downward organization. So whatever data points which can be shared for all the stakeholders will be put on blockchain. I don't say all data should be put on blockchain, because there will be some private data, business data, which should be private, which should not be visible for all. So only with respect to movement of goods, those particular data points can be put on blockchain. To give you a real look, say for example, there is a product moving from manufacturer to distributor, then to logistic player, then to a retail store, and then it is going to a customer. Today what is happening? Manufacturer will create 1,000 products, but distributor will mix some counterfeit products from other manufacturers, and then he will supply. And because of this mixing happening on a distributor IT system, the manufacturer doesn't know how many products are in circulation. But with blockchain, every product can be given a GTIN, a unique serial number, and every transfer of ownership for a given product across the stakeholders can be recorded on blockchain. And with this, an end consumer can quickly scan a QR code and check the authenticity of the product. For example, let's take Indian pharma industry. 30% of the medicines which we buy are either substandard or spurious or fake. And this mixing is happening from long time. But an end consumer doesn't have any mechanism to check the authenticity of the product. For example, organic food. Now let's take organic food. We don't know whether a product with a sticker that organic is actually coming from the organic farm or not. But with blockchain, all the individual IT systems of stakeholders can be connected to a blockchain, and all stakeholders can share shared data which is visible to the end consumer to check the authenticity of the product. So what is it bringing? Blockchain is bringing trust. It is bringing trust. It is bringing transparency. It is bringing trackability. If I want to recall a product, if a manufacturer wants to recall a product, he can quickly check where all these particular batch of products are, whether it is with a retailer or how many with a wholesaler, how many with distributor, and he can recall. He need not recall all the batches. To give you an example, the recent Maggi, like couple of years back, Maggi noodles had some proportion of some thing which is not supposed to exceed something, right? Then they recalled all millions of packets back. Why? Even though couple of batches had that problem, they had to recall all the products back. Why? A manufacturer IT system is not communicating with distributor IT system beyond their operations. So what is happening between retailer and distributor is only among them. So this coordination and this disconnectedness is what brings lots of challenges. Okay, but with blockchain, you can bring trust, transparency, trackability, and traceability. So what did you understand from all these operations? At the end of the day, businesses are becoming more decentralized And present IT systems are centralized in nature, and they are not able to support the next evolutionary step of businesses. And because of that, there are new challenges which are being faced by businesses. And for that, blockchain emerged. And blockchain can bring cross organizational, cross governmental, and cross individual trust, so that everything happens in a transparent way. So let's unblock blockchain now. Tomorrow, soon, you will be using your smartphone to quickly scan a product. You will be using your smartphone to quickly, securely share your electronic medical record only with a doctor or an insurance player. Tomorrow, if your health record is to be shared with someone, you can share it in a secured way. And tomorrow, if you want to share your virtual credentials, you can share it with confidence, with quick validation, powered by blockchain. So that is what future is all about. And I hope I tried my best to touch. I tried my best not to touch deeper technology aspects, but on a functional level, let's unblock blockchain now by bringing more awareness across citizens. Because today, blockchain is being assumed, or blockchain is being related to only cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and all. Cryptocurrency is only one of the application of blockchain, but blockchain has a wider scope. Okay, and because some people are misusing anonymity concept of blockchain, whole technology is being banned. The cryptocurrency is being banned. So that shouldn't happen. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thanks for this wonderful opportunity, Dr. Swami. So it's my pleasure to talk.
Have, and then I got